for 1 year, you're moving around Spain, Italy, preparing a move for David Beckham and other players as well. Then you get told that you are going to be the right-hand man of Beckham in Madrid. Little did you know the circumstances and events that would follow. There's not a lot of training you can get for these sort of situations, especially coming out straight out of professional football. My question is to you, what were the chances that I'm sure you knew there was going to be a bit of drama following Beckham, but did you know that this was going to be did you have any inkling this was going to be such a movie script, such an insane set of months for you?
No, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced in my life before. I'd been around, the football scene at top levels in Europe. I'd seen, some Maradona, highlights of his life in Naples, in Barcelona. But this took it to a whole new level. You had a Spice Girl thrown in, you had a global paparazzi, and media that were thirsty for stories that lived off all this chaos, this madness, and it began, with the arrival at the Air Force Base. They arrived. We got into the cars. We were going into the middle of Madrid for the medicals, and the immediate car chase on that first day was it's like something that you'd seen a Bond movie, and even greater. Helicopters, police helicopters, Air Force helicopters, Fox, CNN, every news station on the planet, on the ground, motorbikes, paparazzi motorbikes, all set up like MotoGP bikes, and highway patrol vehicles, cars, everybody fighting for a bit of David. And we finally got to the hospital, and the car stopped, and I just thought, we're going to die in a car crash here. This is insanity. And then we went inside, did the medical, and then we were off to the centre of Madrid. And again, as soon as we left the hospital grounds, the chase was on again, every single day. And it did not cease. It did not let up. In fact, it got worse. The hotel, until David moved out to his country home just outside Madrid, the Santa Mara Hotel was a beautiful boutique hotel in the middle of Madrid, but not far from the Bernabeu, not far from the previous training complex of Real Madrid, but it was the one in action at the time. It was like being in the middle of Mexico City, and then we were locked in, and the paparazzi would have every corner of the city locked up. So we couldn't go anywhere without being followed. And it got to a point where, we discussed with the SAS commandos and everybody, and we began to need more security. We began to need a vehicle in front, a vehicle behind the Beckham vehicle, and still chaos ensued. And, at first, sometimes you think, the whole fame thing is pretty cool. It's not as cool as you think. I think it's a lot easier for him now, I believe. Manchester, it was easier. The whole Spanish thing with the Galacticos, and it was just that one point in history, that one moment in time, that everything came together. And it's, again, I've mentioned to you before, I don't think there's words to do it justice. It's kind of one of those things where you visually have to see and just go, yeah. It was like, but it was, as dangerous as it was, as impacting later on in life as it may be, it was exciting at the time. But you said it best, there's things that you're not trained for. You're a footballer, you're an agent, and all of a sudden you do a 4-week, quick SAS course because you're going to be needed, and you do a multitude of other things, that you just do. and that was me. I think if you have the ability to play at real high levels of sport, then there's something in that brain and something in that makeup and mindset that we got to drive this car at 200 k's an hour, followed by people and motorbikes, and let's do it, and you just do it.
Yeah, I living in Australia and sort of seeing the way the culture works here, like people, like you just see like comments online and people are like disgusted when their little bit of privacy is sort of taken away in any sort of like article or video you see. If these Australians don't know anything about European football or Spain or Italy or these big stars, they don't realize there's the daily newspapers of just sport and sometimes just football. Like you said, you've mentioned many times in the news that people, and you mentioned the book, they're looking for the blood shots, they're looking for this. You add Victoria Beckham in there, and all of a sudden it's sort of like that. I don't know if you've seen that movie Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. Like you mentioned there, did it sort of feel like that at times where like the press would have been happy if you had a car crash or something like that?
Oh, look, there was we had technology that at the time, if I put it in front of you now, would look pretty prehistoric and dinosaur age. But at the time, with the Beckhams, the SAS Commandos and everything, we had the latest and greatest technology, and chatter would come up, because they would say to me, "What are they saying?" And it's pretty sad when they're looking for chaos, when they're looking to upset us, when they're looking, as soon as you walk out of the hotel in the morning, as soon as you leave the garage in the morning, the chatter is, chaos. If chaos ensues and car crashes ensue, a shot of a dead or dying David Beckham is the big money, and it wasn't always that chat, but the chat was always, he wasn't always as pronounced or as I've just kind of pointed it out. Occasionally it was, and that was not nice to hear. But on most occasions, you knew what they alluded to. They wanted some sort of chaos, and they would do anything to get it. It's just the insanity. You've got guys, and we're traveling in high-powered vehicles. David doesn't drive crap. You got Ferraris, Porsche GT3s, and everything. Yes, Aston Martins, and we're flying. And you get to a point, you get out on the freeway towards the new training ground, and 180, 200 kilometers an hour more is just a cruise. And you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 guys right next to the vehicle on motorbikes, and then the rider is facing forward. His job is just to look forward, and then there's a guy sat reverse the other way back, so the camera's pointing at the vehicle, and he's strapped to the rider, and there's no fear from them. There's no, they love it. I'd look into their eyes, 200 kilometers an hour, we're a meter apart. I'm looking in their eyes, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I would love so much to just go, boof, see you later. Yeah, that was like, oh, it would have made my day. Just go, boof, see you, son. But there's things you can't do. But honestly, at times, it got over time, it wears you out so much that you think, you know what, I could have easily have just gone, boof, there you go, knock him into an oncoming truck, mincemeat, see you later, thank you. We've gone and had a vanilla ice cream. That's how bad it gets to a certain point. But I suppose it was more impacting and harder for myself and the security team around him, because we're doing reconnaissance missions. Early in the morning. We're getting updates from MI6. It's James Bond. That's the spy agency, and they're saying, look, ETA, the terrorist group, are looking at the kids. So then you've got to start. There's a certain way you go to training in the morning. Now we've got to change it up, and we've got to do it. We've got to do that trip in the morning with 2 SAS commandos, with a couple of intelligence officers that were ex-Castro guys, and you're looking for things, and it's so yeah. And then when David and Victoria get up, they just go down, breakfast, jump in the car, everything's done. So for me, it was impacting. I'd interpret. The English guys didn't know Spanish. The Spanish security didn't know English. So I was like 24/7. I became really, really important. And then towards the end, when I look back, those 3-4 months, the initial ones where David was there, I was key. He integrated into that Real Madrid squad and into that society. And those that came later, it was easier. But I really, if I'm really, really proud of something, it's the fact that I helped him move into the Madrid society and really integrate and form lifelong friendships with all those Real Madrid players and especially Ronaldo and Roberto Carlos.
And before we mention the Galacticos, there was would you be able to mention like one of your decoy stories? Like you mentioned quite a few of them in there. Like you literally had to like put a wig on and sort of take the car the other way to at least get half the paparazzi off.
We would do that on many occasions. And this one ended in a car crash. I won't go into it too much. I don't want to spoil the book. But yes, it was at times. This one was for Romeo Brooklyn's birthday.
Yeah.
So we had a convoy of vehicles behind us as well. And I would put on a blonde wig to look like David. The windows of the vehicle were really blackened out. So you could kind of just see that blonde kind of. I used to think that was me. And next to me was Louise Adams, Victoria's sister. And on this occasion, we left the hotel via the ramp that we always did. But something that didn't quite happen as normally did. And it ended up in a car crash. And I won't really go into more because I don't want to ruin the book either. But insanity. There was one occasion where I did a decoy run in the Range Rover, and I put 2 suitcases in the back seat and a soccer ball, a football on top of each suitcase, and covered it with a blanket, so that the paparazzi thought it was 2 humans under there. And I took them all the way to Barajas, the international departure area. I get the Range Rover there. They're all around the Range Rover. I take the blankets off the suitcase and the football, and they went nuts. Nuts. And David and Victoria were somewhere else on the other side of Madrid. But then you infuriate them, and it gets worse. It's what's the lesser of the two evils? So then they get even more malicious in terms of the photography, the chasing, the whole lot. So, but the commandos had a million tricks as well. You'd go, some of the little cobblestone kind of streets in Italy and Rome and Madrid, for example, that become kind of one way and narrow. You take them up there, and the vehicle behind Beckham's vehicle, the one behind with security in it, stop. David keeps going. The motorbikes can't get past because the vehicle behind has not only is it narrow in itself, but the commandos open the doors, so the motorbikes can't go.
And if they do it,
yeah, they're going nuts. And so it's kind of silly, isn't it? You're playing these cat and mouse games every single day. It's a cat and mouse game, and they infiltrate the hotel. They try and get into the rooms. Madness, I was the only one that I was the only one that had a key to David and Victoria's room. I was in charge of their safe as well. I had the key of the safe, and but I would, on many occasions, see people snooping around, and I'm thinking, I've never seen them here before. Suddenly it's the new lady that does the cleaning, and it wasn't.
Exactly. You can't just, assume. You have to make sure that it's all safe in that regard. Some of the best parts for you about it must have been watching the Galacticos and David Beckham train up front. Sometimes people don't realize like some of the best skill you see from these sort of players would be at training, right? You just see them do skills that you wouldn't see in a game, and just the little things they do off the ball. Can you just explain the quality that you would have seen on a daily basis from these absolute once in a lifetime world-class players all together at training?
Oh, look, you coming from a footballer that's played at a decent level and played against some of them, you quickly understand there's another level, and these are apex predators. These are, Zidane, Ronaldo, Figo, Beckham, all in their own way have world-class assets. When you look at the top tennis players, people go, oh, Rafa has this, and Federer has this, and Sampras had an amazing serve. That was his weapon. These guys all have their particular weapon. But as all-round athletes, as some may not be as fast as others, but they're not fast as others is way faster than everything else on the planet. They have VO2 maxes that are unbelievable. I get kids, it's like, for example, Xavi wasn't amongst them, and Iniesta wasn't amongst them. They were at Barcelona, but I get people in Canberra saying, "Come and watch my boy. He played like Xavi. He played like Iniesta. He looked like him too." And so they're kidding themselves. These midfielders, top level, Modric, Zidane, all these guys, VO2 maxes of Tour de France cyclists, of Olympic middle distance runners. That's what people kind of don't realize. These Galacticos, I'm telling you now, and people and players of that ilk, a very special brain that puts everything together. But physiologically, and it's what we forget. We used to, when I was at the AOS, we understood that a bit more. It's gone out of the game now, but you're talking every single one of them, physiologically, in their own way, just world class. I took the St. George Rugby League team to watch them, to spend a week there with them. I was just watching Ronaldo and going, man, imagine that guy in the centre's state of origin. Like, he's just very special, and it's something that we don't kind of realise when we just see them. People see Neymar and Messi and all of this, and they just see the tricks and the flicks. But, if you asked someone, what's Messi's time from a standing start for 20 metre sprint, or a 10 metre sprint, or a 30 metre sprint, what's his deceleration after he goes past the finish line? They wouldn't have a clue. And if I told them that it's faster than the greatest ever time recorded at an NFL draft, they'd look at you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They don't get it. And until you grasp the concept of physiological, molded in, mixed in with the mental, then you don't understand what you're kind of watching to a certain extent. As a footballer, I see it because, I've marked Ryan Giggs, Andy Cole, Eric Cantona. And, despite kind of towards the end of my career being on one leg, I had to be cluier, to be smarter. And you realise that, I'm in turbo fifth most of the game, and Giggs is still in third. He's looking around. He's waiting for that opportunity to go. So mentally, that's a whole big game, and it's, I loved it. Besides the chaos of everything, that was my piece. I'd go there with Brooklyn and babysit him, and then sit 20 meters from the boys playing five-a-sides. You got five-a-sides with Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos, Figo. It's insanity. And there's a good story in there where Brooklyn and I are kicking a ball around, and they're doing set pieces, and the ball goes into the middle of the set pieces, and Kiroj looks around, and anyway, it ended up really nice with a Roberto Carlos bit of magic.
Like you mentioned, a crazy few months for you, and then SFX loses David Beckham, and then for you, you sort of go into a dark period in life. My question to you was, how difficult, there's a chapter in here where you go very in depth about one of the nights the night you got arrested, and what it was like for you when you were using the drugs. How difficult is it to go into that sort of depth? Because I would assume it would be one thing to just say, yeah, I took something here, but for you to go in that sort of depth and explain the night you were arrested and explain that whole process, how was it difficult for you, or was it sort of therapeutic in a way? Like what
Yeah,
was it like going in
was,
that depth?
it was cathartic. It was therapeutic. It was, the arrest bit didn't bother me as such. The addiction to cocaine didn't bother me as much. It impacted me. I'm not saying it's cool. I'm not saying it's a good thing that happened in my life. I wish it never happened, but it happened, and it happens to me, and it happens to millions out there. But for me, the whole arrest thing, and the fact that I was addicted to crack cocaine at the time, and you don't make when you're on any sort of addictive kind of behavior or drug or alcohol or whatever, there's no secret you don't make good decisions. And part of my whole thing was my torture the past 10, 11 years was that I'd been not forced, but I kind of fell into it, and I was on crack cocaine. I wasn't making good decisions. I was told by my legal team to take a plea deal to something that just simply didn't happen. And I'd go on any FBI, MI6 lie detectors, not a problem. I'd revisit it in court, whatever. It was a made up charge. To try and for two detectives to live off my fame of me being the Reading FC captain, and their claims of capturing him in their own town and city. So I was living a lie that I'd admitted to something that simply I didn't even do anything. It was attempting to do something. It's kind of like it was insanity, and I needed to get that out at some point. But you've got to. You just can't come out and say, well, that's not right. That's not true. You've got to have some backup, some evidence. And it came my way. Cards were dealt. Like I was playing poker in Vegas, to be honest with you, and I received an email from Scotland Yard detectives that kind of made sense of everything and put everything into little kind of areas of wow. Now I have documentation and evidence of that I was a victim of Britain's greatest tabloid scandal ever. I've documentation at home, that shows Prince Harry, William, Beckham's, myself, all victims of the phone hacking and, and the data theft. It just, and it all led to my arrest. And look, they wanted to nail me, and I wasn't in a good state. And my legal team said, just cop a plea to this, you pay a little fine, and everything goes away. And you know what? I was in a state I was in a mental state at the time that I wanted everything to go away. And so £3,000, slap on the wrist, and but nothing goes away when you've been with David Beckham. Nothing goes away. And it was all. It was nothing. This is how much it was nothing. I've been offered millions. I was offered millions, and my story wouldn't have seen the light of day if I had have divulged information on David Beckham and his family. I was approached on several occasions in North Islington and outside court on a couple of occasions. And it's like you have $1 million overnight, or we go to town on you. And anything that we want to magnify or put in papers to destroy your life can be done. And if you sue us and you win 5 million, we'll make sure you have to spend 6 million to win that 5. And so it's a never-ending cycle. So you kind of tortured you, and it's worse. They say, no, you got to say this. But what if that's not true? This is what you got to say. And if you, so you tortured you say, if I say this about David, about this and that, the football world is closed to me. It's dead. There's no more, you know. Do you know what I mean? That world closes. People don't like.
No, of course not. They don't like that. No.
No, and then you kind of go, well, but if I don't say something, then they're going to write this. So it's madness. So what do you do? So, for me, I'm not proud of it, but it was almost like a self-medication, and kind of ironic that I'd speak to the Rocket Man himself, Elton John at times, when he'd call the vehicle, and we're going on the way to training in the early days, and I kind of became the Rocket Man up there in space. So there you go.
And then after that, you were with the Socceroos. You were with the Socceroos a bit, doing some scouting before that World Cup, that famous World Cup qualifier against Uruguay, and you've also helped quite a few Australian players out, most notably Tommy Rogic. You saw him in Canberra. You explain the story in the book. When you got Rogic an opportunity, or when you helped him get an opportunity at the Mariners, did you see him going to the lengths that he has that he has now in such a successful career?
Yeah, but firstly, before Tom, my first client was Tim Cahill, and I'm not sure if a lot of people knew that, but I just thought I'd he's probably the top one. But yeah, then after that, young Valeri took him to Inter Milan, and then Tom, and Tom's the one that, and you're probably right, he's kind of the one that I had to spend more time with. The other two, Timmy was already, he left for Millwall at 15, 16. Carl came through the AIS. Tommy was a kid I went to watch at Hawker. Rod Smith said, come down and watch him play. And, 95% of it was rubbish. He was unfit. He didn't track back. He did futsal tricks. Just didn't kind of, got the girls excited. 3 or 4 Radford, girls that were sitting in the stand got excited at these little futsal tricks. But I said to his father, Peter, afterwards, I said, everything that I saw today that was negative can be fixed. And the 5%, there's a 5% there that was, I can only dream of doing stuff like that. It was very Zidane-esque. The touch, the first touch was sublime. And, we then went on a 3-month training program with Tom that was more about physicality and mindset rather than the technical elements of his game. And he gave me 100% on everything. Here at the time, I was the strength conditioning coach for the Olympic Games boxing team that contained people like Jeff Horn. So he came in and trained with all of us. And I told him if he missed one training session, I was out. See you later. Right there, that was career done. But he rolled up. He was fantastic. There's a few stories in there that readers will really love. But I knew he could play. There was a particular run near the Governor General's that I used to put the boys through, and I did say to him, I said, if you become a fantastic athlete, the best you can be as an athlete, you will play for one of the big teams on the planet, one of the big brands on the planet. And Celtic are a big brand. I've been there. I've I've witnessed it, and his trophy and medal tally there is, I think it's 12 or 13, and for people that knock the Scottish League, it's only Celtic and Glasgow Rangers. People that knock the league, I haven't met one or heard one that's actually played in it. And if and you see the A-League, every A-League player tomorrow would sign for Rangers or Celtic. they'd give their right arm to sign for them. These are big brands, you know, and then they play in Europe and stuff like that. Is the whole league, you know, as good as the EPL, as good as La Liga, as good as Serie A? No. But you're talking about, you know, Celtic, a global brand, an iconic brand, European champions. When you go there and you see the passion in the stands and what it means to the people, you know, for me, so amazing that Tom from Canberra ended up there and, you know, scored the winning goal in the treble. And, you know, I don't think he'd mind me saying, you know, if he had a little bit better VO2 max, you know, that's the motor that you're born with, and a little bit more speed, could have played for anybody. You know, just could have played for, you know, the big ones. But, you know, it wasn't to be, you know. But he did play for, you know, what is a big iconic club. You know, when I talk to top, you know, 10, 11, you know, the AC Milans, the Inters, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, had technically and the brain to play for them. Probably not the VO2 max, you know, and Ronnie Smith always said that. He used to say to me, his biggest challenge will be, you know, getting around the pitch, you know, at you know, for 90 minutes at the high speeds required. You know, most people can go jog for 90 minutes, but, you know, can you do consistent, you know, 20-meter sprints or 10-meter sprints in a certain time over those 90 minutes?
You've helped a lot of other players specifically from the Canberra region to get trials with A-League clubs or go to an academy overseas and that sort of thing. Do you get a lot of, you mentioned it there, do you get a lot of that? Do you get a lot of people say, hey, can you come, people that you know, hey, can you come see my son? Can you come watch my son play? What do you think about him? What do you think about him? Because there is a bit in the book where you mentioned you take a map and you go, oh, I have connections all over here. So I would have a feeling the fact that people know that, they would say, hey, come watch my son. Can you do something here?
Oh, look, I occasionally get that. I kind of, I don't watch a lot of local football, but, you know, and for me, it's not like I make a living out of it. You know, I don't really like the game a lot, but I have a partner in London, and, you know, if we have to take on a Cahill or a Valeri or a Rogic, you know, over a career, we do it as a kind of family unit, a close-knit kind of, you know, team. But yeah, there's talent here. There's kids here, but what I find is a lot of parents and kids aren't ready for me here. You know, because I don't, you know, it's black or white. You know, at 16, 17, you know, 16, 17, you want to be pushing first team here in Canberra. You know, so at 17, if you're a young lad, you know, and you tell me, you know, you want to go A-League or further, show me. Don't tell me. Show me at 17, 18, you're the best kid in Canberra, by a mile. So that if I bring Graham Arnold here to watch you play, Kevin Muscat here to watch you play, Steve Corica here to watch you play, I can phone them. They'll drive down. Laurie McKenna, they'll drive down for me and they'll watch you play. So you want to be able to walk as good as you talk, you know, and for the parents as well. So, you know, at 17, 18, you know, and once you've been in this agent business and you see all the talent, you know, through South America and through Europe and stuff, like, you know, it takes a lot to convince me or win me over here in Canberra. You know, I get parents, my son plays like Xavi and he's this and that, and I've heard it all. You know what? I'll go and watch you play. For example, I'll go and watch you play Canberra, Croatia, v Monero or whoever, yeah? First grade, 16, 17. And if you are the best player on the pitch, you know, you won't even have to tell me. I'll see it. What kids don't realise in this city, and parents don't realise in this city, is that, you know, they always go, oh, you know, wish a Valencia scout was here or a Sevilla scout was here. Or Sevilla scout is here. His name's Andy. In my phone, I have Julian Lopetegui's number. He's the manager of Sevilla. So if I go and watch a 17-year-old kid that I think is special, He's in Sevilla in 2 weeks' time, obviously with travel restrictions and everything kind of, taken into consideration. But your scout is here. I'm one phone call away from Brendan Rodgers is in here. That's how easy it is, but you have to be, and so, I try and help some kids, but ultimately, once I open the door or put someone through a door, I've done it myself and I've gone on and won that first team spot. I can't do that for you. I can open the doors, but certainly, when I look at kids in Canberra, they need to be, I look at a lot of things and physiologically, they can't, if you're a kid that's in Canberra, 17, 18, 19, I look at that kid now and I go, how would he go against Sergio Ramos right now? How would he go against Ramos in 2 years' time? Does he have the potential to develop into the athlete that he needs to be? I think so. Or I immediately go, no. And when I go, no, parents go, oh, Andy, empty promises. There's no empty promises. There was no empty promises for Cahill. There was no empty promises for Valeri. There was no empty promises for Tom Rogic. There was no empty promises for myself. There was no empty promises for Ned Zelic, who I helped get to Sydney Olympics from the AIS. There was no empty promises for Schwarzer, who I helped get to England from Germany, for Tony Popovic to sign for Crystal Palace. There's no empty promises. There's empty promises if you ain't good enough. And I don't do the little talk. If you're good enough, I'll help you. If you have the ability to go and play there, I'll help you. If not, and that's how it is. Andy's the bad guy because he doesn't want to help everybody. But what you all need to understand is that you need to be beyond, the delusion. If you're good enough in Canberra, if I believe you're good enough in Canberra to play top level football, trust me, and you'll be your best mate.
And before we wrap up, we've talked a little bit before whenever we've just seen each other at games. You've talked about what you don't like about modern football, and there's not a lot of physicality. Can you just explain that a little bit?
You don't see kids valued now for good tackles, for getting up and heading the ball and a diving header. You don't see these things. They're not encouraged. Everybody wants to play tiki-taka. You play futsal if you want to play tiki-taka. And what they don't realise is that the tiki-taka merchants, the best ones in the world, Spain, they actually are the teams that physically impose themselves above others and on others like you wouldn't believe. The Puyols, the Ramoses, the whole lot, these guys bring a physicality to the game that make it uncomfortable for opponents. But they can play football too. Play football way, 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 way better than those that go, oh, you have to play tiki-taka all the time. It's no. As a defender, if I'm teaching defenders in Canberra, young defenders, how to defend, the first thing I need to tell those kids is whoever you're playing against needs to understand that today's not going to be a pretty day. It's going to be a real bad day at the office. And if they're going to get the better of Andy, they're going to remember Andy for the rest of their lives. And on the pitch for 90 minutes, nobody's your friend. Your brother, your cousin, your sister, nobody is your friend. Okay. There's no, I've lined up in a tunnel against Man United, Giggs, Keane, the whole lot. It's in those moments that, people become intimidated. People, you need to, if I'm playing against a fantastic striker, the last thing I need him to be is comfortable. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make him uncomfortable and not want to receive the ball with comfort. Now, I don't mean breaking legs. I don't mean that's cowardly. But being fair, hard, and tough is fantastic. But now you can't look at anybody. You can't look at someone and they put a yellow card. Refs don't even want to dialogue with you. You know, a good ref will dialogue with you. You know, you'll say something to him and he'll turn around, Andy, just concentrate on your game, mate. You're having a stinker. That's what good refs do. But we've gone away from all that. We don't have warriors anymore. There's no diving headers. Put your head in where it hurts. Coaches don't even say that. Put your head in where it hurts. If you get stitches, I will personally drive you to Canberra Hospital and I'll wait there for you. We'll stitch you up. And if it's quick, we'll get you back out onto the pitch. But you say that, and imagine saying that at the Kanga Cup, they think you're nuts.
But what is next for Andy Bernal?
Look, I'm really kind of honoured and taken aback a little bit and humbled by the reception that the book's getting, on a global level. People are really, really enjoying the honesty of a true story. I'm very proud that I wrote it myself. Russ Gibbs was fantastic as well. He kind of encouraged me and he helped me structure it and put a format in place. But it was me, all hours of the morning writing it. And now I want to, we're going to translate it into Spanish. My cousins in Ibiza are involved with the Ibiza Football Club there. They've been there for many years. They've done well. And, they're going to bring Mitchell and Guardiola and Luis Enrique and these boys to the table to help promote it in Spain, in Spanish. And I think the fact that David's been to LA, to Miami, he's there in Miami now, played for Real Madrid. There's a lot of those supporters on a global level that would like to read the book in Spanish. So there's 500 million people, on the planet that speak Spanish. So that's the thing in the next couple of months that I'm working on. I want to turn it into a movie, into a Netflix series in some form of adaptation. And, it could be done through a lot of people. It could be done via David Beckham's movie company. What better way for him to say, well, I'll do this and I'll control how I look. But then again, I'd love to, for an Australian director like Russell Crowe or someone to grab it, being an Aussie type story, that would be fantastic as well. So they're things that I have in play. In terms of football as such, there's a new TV deal, Paramount, and we're looking for new blood, on a broadcasting level as well. Commentary box, studio, panelist. It's all, with all respect to everybody, it's all much the same. Where's the new character? So, I put my hand up there, 1,000,000%.
Well, Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Your book, Writing Shotgun, is out in stores now, Fair Play Publishing, and wherever really you can get books. Andy, thank you very much for coming on. Look forward to chatting to you soon.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on. It's a real good time, mate, chatting to you. Thank you.